I can. Let's do it. I think we should. I think we should make that a part of the podcast.
Okay, as close to the mic as possible. Speaking to the mic, you know how to do that. Ready?
I ready.
Okay, 1, 2,
I felt like
3.
cheerleading.
Ready? Okay.
Welcome to the Brand Therapy Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of the Brand Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Kelly. I'm a full-time marketer, part-time freelance photographer, dog mom, music lover, all that fun stuff. And
world traveler.
And world traveler, absolutely.
Yeah.
World traveler.
Fellow world travelers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And your host for this podcast. And this week we are lucky enough to have Mr. Dane Reid of Dane Reid Media here with us.
I don't know what kind of luck it is, if it's good luck or bad luck. Well, we'll find out by the end of the...
I'm going to go with good luck.
How you doing?
I'm good. It has been a long time.
It has been a long time.
How have you been?
Oh, man, I'm awesome.
Wonderful.
I'm awesome.
Wonderful. I am so glad to have you.
I couldn't write this story in fiction.
Most of us can't. The real life is stranger than fiction is almost always true, right?
Always.
But this week's Brand Therapy session is kind of delving into an area that not many know about. Like, everyone is affected by your lane,
and
what
it's
you
a huge
do, your
part of
profession.
marketing.
Exactly. It's a huge part of marketing.
It's a pivotal part.
That I don't think anybody gives real
marketing.
consideration like they should, right?
Right.
So tell us a little bit about exactly what it is you do.
So without further ado, I am a professional voiceover talent.
Wow.
That's what I do.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah, so, there are a lot of people who know about voiceover, and then there are a lot of people who don't know about voiceover.
Mm-hmm. I am in this lane of, I know that you do voiceover.
Right.
And that about it.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to put it on everybody.
I'm
going to
newbie,
educate
right?
everybody.
Educate everybody.
So voiceover is a very important part of media.
Absolutely.
And it's a very important part of marketing, and it's a very important part of information distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am, and along with my very many and growing colleagues, is a person who communicates a message through the use of my voice in order to speak on behalf of someone who is doing the marketing. Okay?
Right.
So I'm often not seen, but very often heard.
Right.
So voiceover covers a large swath of things, but if you consider any kind of message where you have closed your eyes and still receive the message,
Right.
then through a medium, then that is voiceover.
Wow.
That is what I do all day, every day, somehow. Right? Sometimes in my PJs.
Jealous.
Sometimes in way less. Way less.
We get all the details.
It depends on how hot it is in the studio.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
I'm a guy who sits at home and talks to myself all day. And sometimes...
When you say it like that, Dane, it gets to be a little, I won't say weird, but...
It's weird. It's really weird. I mean, I think only if you do this for a living do you understand.
Yeah.
You know, what talking to yourself.
But see,
is like.
I feel like when you say talking to yourself, technically yes, but really you're talking to whoever your potential future listener is.
Listen,
right? That makes it less weird.
If me and the engineer left the room and probably turned off the lights, you would understand as you talk to yourself to this microphone here.
Okay.
And then
imagine
doing that for 15 years with no feedback, and you have my career.
And we have your life.
That's right.
I get it. I get it. That's incredible. So you made
incredibly sad. No, I'm kidding.
It's not. Listen, you get to work from home in your PJs for 15 years. I don't see anything sad about this.
I don't have any friends, no colleagues, no coworkers. It's all that.
Yeah. That's anybody who kind of works in
Yeah.
that work from home space these
But
days.
But it's incredibly fun. It's incredibly rewarding.
And it also
Um,
gives you the flexibility
It gives me incredible flexibility
to travel the world
that's
like
right.
you do.
That's right. So I love traveling. I've been around the globe a bunch of times,
Right.
and I take my laptop and my microphone everywhere I go.
Yeah, and just set up shop.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have that luxury, so I'm just gonna give you credit for half the tears you cried. The other half we're disregarding.
Okay, gotcha. We're like we should do a morning show now.
I know, I know, right? So let's see. I have my list of questions.
Okay,
here.
talk to me.
So you've explained to us what voiceover is.
Yes.
How did you get into this?
So, like I said, I started 15 years ago, back in 2004. I went to school, went to college for radio, television, and film with a focus in radio. I interned my last semester in college, and what I saw at the radio station in terms of the way that they treated people was not cool, and I was turned off to it because I'm a very I'm a very New York kind of guy in terms of the way that people deal with me, right? So I was turned off to that, but I was still very interested in being in some kind of radio type medium, and things like podcasts were not
Right.
didn't
thing.
even exist,
Yeah.
right, at the time. And I got a recommendation from one of my professors to do voiceover, and I didn't know what it was.
Right.
Had no idea. I started doing some research, but again, the technology had not advanced to a point. So we're talking back in the 90s, the late 90s. And so there wasn't even much internet back then. Like, the internet was mind blowing.
Yeah,
at
it was
the time.
that AOL.
Right. Right. You've got mail, right? And by the way, you've got mail. That's voiceover.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. That is a great point.
That guy, hopefully he got paid well.
Right.
So fast forward a couple years later, I was doing substitute teaching, and I enjoyed it for a couple years, and then not as much anymore. And I knew that had a calling to do something else.
Right.
A friend of mine called me up on the phone in 2004 and said to me, "You need to be doing voiceover." And it was amazing because I was in my hotel room in New Orleans thinking, I need to be doing voiceover when I received this call. So I came back to Atlanta and I started researching on the internet, which
'Cause
had
it
much
existed
more
then.
information.
Right.
And I found a local voiceover talent right here in Atlanta. I called her up on the phone and I said, "What do I need to do to be a voiceover talent?" By the way, don't ever call me up on the phone to ask me this question.
He totally just made himself like
Do not do that.
that guy. I'm just
Don't do it.
don't do that?
No,
so
please.
you're not open to
Well,
inquiries. All right.
back in 2004, there were 5 of us calling people, and now there are like 500,000.
Because everybody can do it now. It's accessible.
Everyone thinks they can do it.
They have the means, maybe not the talent. Can do it.
That's correct.
Okay, I'll agree with
so
you on
everyone
that.
everyone can buy a little
Exactly.
microphone and buy themselves a little program, or they can download free program Audacity and get started. That doesn't mean that you're a professional voiceover talent, even if someone is so foolish as to pay you for it.
These are facts. These
So
are facts. I do want
I
to.
actually recorded. She gave me the number for a local studio here in Atlanta. I went in with my buddy, and this is a true story. I am trolling the guys on the phone while I'm trying to get directions, because this is also before the popularization of GPS. So I have to call for directions.
You were talking about caveman days.
These
like,
are caveman
people are gonna have a
days.
hard time. Like they have to go
they're,
back
they're
in
not
their
gonna
brain.
relate, right? So my struggles
know.
definitely won't be your struggles. So I get to the studio. Oh, while I'm on the phone, I'm like, I can tell these guys are like, oh, because I heard him go, oh,
Yep.
as I'm talking to him and getting directions. So I'm saying to the guy, I'm like, yeah, okay, we gonna be there in a minute. You know what I mean? We gonna be there in a minute. Yo, all right. So we get to the studio, and I keep this up the whole time. He's giving me a script and everything, okay? And I'm just like, yeah, okay, what line you want me to read? Right?
I see where this is going.
And he says, just read right here. And I pick up, right here? Yes, read right here. And I pick up the script, and he says, when the music goes on, all right, go. Visit CNN.com/influentials and watch CNN for this special series sponsored by IBM.
And his face fell off.
His face fell off. He runs back in there. He says, yo, that was great. Do this line right here. And so I'm going to tell you what happens. They produced my demo. Mm-hmm. It was $500. And when I went back to pick up my demo, the guy says to me, the owner says, don't worry about it. It's free.
Wow.
He says, we've done hundreds of voiceover demos, and everyone who walked in here was basically bad and have no future. You
So
have
you
a
took their
future,
money.
so we're going to do this for free.
Wow.
Real
That's
story.
incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
15 years later,
Right.
I'm still here.
There it is. They were right. They were right to comp you that. That's awesome. You're now listening to Brand Therapy, powered by the V-Renee Agency. But you said something earlier that really kind of caught my ear when you said your professor recommended it. And it was something that you'd never even known about before.
Never even thought about it.
Exposure is so important. And that's something that I think, people, even with the internet, everything is at your fingertips these days. There's still this level of lack of exposure to different things, different career opportunities, especially for people that look like us, right?
Right.
And so I just thought that was a really key point, right? That you wouldn't be here if someone hadn't exposed you to what other options you had outside of radio.
I want people to know what voiceover is,
Right.
and I want them to know that it is a career opportunity or that it is a career. I don't want everybody to run out there and quit their day jobs and say, I'm going to be a voiceover talent. Or I don't want everybody to just say, hey, I can do that. No, you probably can't. You're probably not going to make much money on it with it. You're probably going to spend more money than you're going to get out of it. But I also believe very, very, very deeply that if you're a person who has focus, if you're a person who has determination, if you're a person who has patience, and every day you devise a plan and you stick to your plan and you work all of those things because you have passion, then you will be not only doing what I do, but you'll be doing it even at a higher level.
Right.
If you're absolutely focused,
Right.
if you think that you're going to jump into this and you're going to be Dane Reid, that's absolutely ludicrous.
Right.
Because not even Dane Reid jumped into it and became Dane Reid.
Exactly.
Right? Because I honestly did this from 2004 to 2010 with very not so good results. So we're talking about 6 years.
To get to.
In 2006 is when I became a full-time voiceover talent. So that means for 4 years, even though this was my primary way of making money, I still wasn't making a fortune.
Yeah.
Right? Like I was losing money for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's largely because I didn't have a skill that you have, which is marketing. Okay. So what people also have to understand.
Marketing yourself. You work in marketing, but you have to understand the actual, means of marketing yourself.
So if I broaden this whole conversation and I say you were a video editor, or if I said that you were a plumber, or if I said that you did any other job for yourself, you will be an absolute failure if you do not understand how to market your business.
Yep.
So when I look at voiceover talent, I do not look at the talent itself.
Sure.
I look at, well,
It's
let
a,
me
it's a
rewind.
factor. It's a factor, right?
The talent is a very important factor.
Yeah.
But I already have the talent, so that's the difference, right?
Check that box.
I have the talent because I've done training.
Exactly.
And I can consistently train and I consistently study.
Mm-hmm.
But so I don't worry as much about the talent. But when I look at it as a business.
Right.
And so anything that you start, you have to look at it from the business perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And people think that they're going to either get into voiceover because they think they have talent, but then they don't have any business sense,
Mm-hmm.
or they think they're going to get into it because they have business sense.
And no
but
talent.
Yeah, you ain't got no talent.
You're too funny.
I'm just kidding. You know, I keep it real.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that's,
Like,
I mean, look, it's brand therapy. We laying it out. We
I
gotta
never
be
stop
real
keeping
and
it
raw
real.
with it, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
I'll tell your kids there's no Santa Claus. That's how real I am.
Didn't nobody ask you to tell their kids that?
I do tell people there's kids that.
All right. When I come up on some kids, Dane, you gonna be banned from them until they know who Santa Claus is.
Yeah, my cousin won't let me around her son. He's 14.
See what you did? I can't. So let me ask you this. You kind of touched on it, but
Okay.
if you are, say you have your own business, or you're like me and you work for a company and you've got a marketing initiative or a campaign or some sort of collateral that you're looking to create, when do you know you should hire a voiceover for this? Like, what are some things that people should consider in one, weighing if they should hire a voiceover, a professional person, and then if they decide to hire someone, how do they go about doing that?
Okay. So let me answer your last question. How do you go about
Okay,
getting a voiceover talent? Call me.
that's the first answer.
I do everything.
All right.
DaneReidMedia.com. DaneReidMedia. Right?
.com.
.com.
He's got his own
Don't you remember those, like the commercials back in the day?
Expedia.com.
.com. Okay. Right.
So that's the first one. But how do they decide they need you?
All right.
How do they get to that point?
Voiceover is just a part of your entire marketing initiative.
Exactly.
Okay. So anytime that you decide that you're going to go to media, to mass media, anything involving sound, you most likely are going to need a voiceover talent.
So that's if you're just recording audio, like a strictly maybe a radio piece, or if you're doing something
radio.
with video.
If you're doing video, if you're doing television, if you're even podcast, if you're doing B2B, so you're selling to other businesses and you want to create a presentation for that. Say, for instance, you want to do, gosh, there's a whole host of things.
Ooh, this is one of my
Talk to
favorite
me.
things. So I learned this term some years ago, and every time I hear it, it like entertains me. VOG.
Voice of God. I just finished doing. Actually, I'm still working.
Tell people what that is. What is a VOG? What is the voice of God?
VOG is the voice of God. It is generally happens when there's a large room of people and they're doing some kind of awards or some kind of presentation. And
the voice comes out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. You're just in the
God,
room.
is that
You start
you?
looking around like.
It's the voice of God. It's
then
probably Dane.
It's probably me, right? And the voice says something like, "Coming to the stage," or "the next presenter up," or anything like that, right?
Yeah, there it is.
The 45th annual Emmy Awards,
Emmy
brought to you by Coca-Cola.
There it
right?
is.
So
that's when you would need to. Don't think
That's the voice
if you're
of
the
God.
voice, the event planner or the president of the company. Everybody can't do that role.
not everyone could do it. I mean, there are some people who can, come out of the chair and just do it, right? So what I've learned in my career is to be able to do everything. They tell you in voiceover, don't try to do everything, but I can do everything.
Okay.
Right. So, I'm very flexible.
And by everything, you mean like coming from out of the
Everything.
studio into live event.
Everything.
That's what you mean.
I
Okay.
can do everything.
perfect.
Like I can do everything from the radio commercial to, the voice of the TV commercial to explainer videos. So explainer videos is an area that a lot of small and large businesses use in order to explain their new product or their product.
Or just their company, their
it has
business.
like cartoonish type characters, and everyone's seen those, or they've seen the whiteboards with the hand
drawing
right?
as
And
it
there's
goes,
right,
yeah.
and there's somebody talking. So businesses use that a lot.
Yep.
B2B type situations and things like that. So I do the voice for explainer videos. Gosh, I do a little
It's a
bit of
really
everything.
wide
It's a wide
area.
There's audiobooks like
Ooh,
so this is a
audiobooks.
huge area right
Yeah.
now. I don't do audiobooks.
I was gonna ask
Remember when I said I did everything,
you don't do
but
everything, but is it just too
audiobooks.
much time? Because
It's too much time.
audiobooks are like 8 hours, 10 hours.
So John ran to the store, and Emily ran behind him, and Emily was like, "John, don't forget the cigarettes." And John was like, "I don't even smoke." But Emily was like, "I smoke." And I don't have time to sit
I was
there
gonna
and
ask
do
you, do you do
100
voices?
voices.
You don't do voice.
No.
It's just you. You get Dane.
I get really bored
I can
if
see
I
that.
have to do something that's like more than 15 pages.
That's fair because that's extensive. That I would get bored too.
Yeah. I have to tell you guys, too, if you call me, I'm not the cheap voiceover guy.
You're 15 years professional Dane Reid media.
Right.
We got you.
Yeah. So if you do
Y'all
log
don't call
on,
him on no craziness now.
if you do log on to www.danereidmedia.com, don't be like, "Can I get the discount?"
There isn't one.
Because
You can tell him you heard about him on Brand Therapy, but there is no discount associated.
yeah, you can use the discount code Brand Therapy, and you will get $1 off.
Oh, just $1? I feel like we should be able to swing more.
$5.
All right, $5. I'll
$5.
take that.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you something
Talk to me.
for the DIYers, the people just getting started. Maybe you're entrepreneur who doesn't have the Dane Reid budget.
Okay.
What are some best practices that they could consider if they had to do something for themselves? Like you said, you're of course trained. You went to college for this. But if you were just gonna give here's some just don't do these things. Like what are some
So
just
the
don'ts?
first thing that you shouldn't do is do it yourself.
They don't have Dane Reid money.
But that's the thing, right? So if you don't have enough money from my talent, go find a talent. There's this thing called the internet, right? Go find the talent that may match your budget. You're going to have to do some research.
Okay.
And that's fine.
So you just
Go
find
on-
somebody who knows
find
what they're
somebody.
doing.
Don't do it yourself.
Yeah.
Do not do it yourself.
Okay.
I know so many in my career. I've known and encountered so many people who thought, I can do this voiceover myself. I had a client just yesterday
Oh, that was recent.
who sent me their voice to be a part of a movie trailer. And then I produced it with their voice and my voice. And then they got back to me and said, I don't like the way my voice sounds. And I was sitting there thinking, I didn't like the way it sounded when you sent it to me. Right? Because, everybody wants to be in the commercial. Everybody wants to be famous. Look, I don't do this because I want to be famous. Most people don't know what I look like.
Right.
And I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
I have famous friends, and it's annoying when people walk up to them
And
and
you
like,
can't get anything.
hey, can I take a picture with you? And I'm just standing on the sideline like, I've been on TV and radio more than they have.
Exactly.
Way more.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
When it comes to, so essentially, find the budget. Can you advise what, well, it's a pretty broad question because the scope of their project is going to dictate certain things. But if I was doing a 60-second, what's a typical radio spot? 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
30-second radio spot.
There are different formats, right? So,
Sure.
and it varies from station to station. But the standards have been 60, 30, 15. Some stations have 10, 6, and 5.
What does 5 seconds get you?
Give me a product. Smart water.
Smart water.
Pick up Smart Water at your local retailers, available at Walmart.
Oh.
6 seconds, you might even be able to say that and then say Smart Water. Right at the end. So you got Smart Water in there 2 times.
Gotcha.
Right. So if
Learning
you look at
so much.
If you look at, for instance, on YouTube, YouTube often utilizes the 6-second commercial.
Okay, yeah.
Because they give people 5 or 6 seconds to click the ad. So they started developing ads that were 5 or 6 seconds so that, hey, you see the whole ad.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. So my question, going back to what the actual question was, if I was looking to have a 30-second commercial produced for radio, what in my yearly planning, what should my budget look like?
So there are a number of different factors. Of course, you have to think about what it will cost for the production for everyone involved. And then you have to think about what the budget is in terms of ad buying.
Right.
So those are 2 very different
on
things.
the production side.
On the production side.
Because that would be you.
Right. So on the production side, goodness gracious.
A range.
For a whole year?
No, I'm just saying if I know I want to do at some point throughout the year and I'm putting together my marketing budget and I need to allot dollars for a 30-second radio ad that I might spend differently, but for production for this ad.
So for mom and pop stores, you can often find cheaper production. Now, when you start talking about big companies, again, something like a Smart Water, then the budget is going to be a lot more because you have to pay rates for not only the studio time, but you're going to have to pay for the voiceover talent themselves, often multiple talents, maybe not. So the amount of time that I spend in the studio, you're going to have to pay me for the studio time because I'll have to come into a place like this.
Right.
And then, of course, there may be a director, there may be a copywriter, et cetera, et cetera. So there are people who write this stuff, direct this stuff. So that starts to get pretty
quickly.
darn expensive.
Yeah.
And then you have to predict how long you're going to run the spot,
Sure.
what markets you're going to run it, because the larger the market, the more you're going to have to pay.
Yep.
So if you are going to run it for, 12 weeks or something like that, then you're also going to have to pay the voiceover talent for the number of spins, the number of times that it airs.
Tell us about that. What does that look like?
Basically, for every time that it plays, or the number of times that you think that it's going to play, then I'm getting residuals for that.
Okay, so that's so in that aspect, are you kind of like any other artist on the radio? Where every time their music plays?
I guess, yeah.
You kind of get that?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
So, yeah, they monitor that stuff and give us our just dues.
Perfect.
But when it comes to mom and pop, oftentimes it's just a really simple process. So if you're a small business and you need a commercial produced, I produce commercials at a low standard
That's
rate.
something that you can do yourself.
That is actually a service that I do that's not expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So you might, you can come with a budget depending, under $600.
Okay, and you can get something.
I can get something done for you.
That's good to know.
Right. And depending on your business, it might even be even much less than that.
Okay.
So the prices depend on what I think how long you're gonna be running it for.
Okay. So in something like that where you produce it, does it still, I guess if you're also the voice talent or no?
I'm the voice, I produce it. Yeah.
You do all of that.
So
then you would still get kind of that residual for that radio space, or are we're operating in 2 different lanes?
It's 2 different lanes.
Gotcha. Okay.
My voiceover friends are like looking at this, like listening, like, what the hell?
So that's what happens when you lay on the couch at Brand Therapy. You
learn some new stuff.
You learn some new stuff. You get some insight that nobody wants you to actually tell the people, but this is what people need to know, right? Yeah. This is, one, to absolutely direct, more eyes and earballs your way, but to broaden the horizon and the understanding of your industry in general. So they
Absolutely.
can be mad, but if you can't accommodate whoever, this traffic that the podcast generates, you might direct them to them. So tell them, don't be too upset, okay?
Right. Absolutely.
So this has been really informative and informal, but I have definitely learned a lot. What's some stuff, can you tell? I know some, depending on who you're working with, there might be confidentiality or something, but what are some projects that we might have heard you on before
So
that you can tell us
is
about?
most of your audience here in Atlanta?
No, actually, we've got California, Texas.
So I'm usually really bad at this. I got to tell you the truth, right?
Because you do so much.
Right. So in my
Volume-wise,
15-year
that's fair.
career, I've done stuff and then I basically forget what I do.
I'm
once-
guilty of that as well. I get it.
So
Yeah.
like you work on projects and early on in my career, I used to get emotionally attached to my work. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is my work, right? And this is the way that I interpret it. And so, when clients wanted corrections, I used to take it personally
Yeah.
because I put so much into this. Well, now, thousands and thousands and thousands of voiceover jobs later,
Right.
I've learned to still invest myself into it, but
Not
also take
attach.
myself
Yeah.
to take myself away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally forgot your question, but it's quite okay.
What are some projects you've worked on
Yeah, I don't
that
remem-
you
I
don't remember any? That was the moral of that,
That was the moral of
story.
the
That's how
story.
we got
But,
there.
here in Atlanta, I'm the voice of WCLK,
Okay.
the radio imaging voice. So that's another area where I am the official voice of the radio station. And I'm the voice of radio stations across the country and actually globally.
Okay.
Actually, I have a couple stations in different parts of the world, like in Africa.
Are you speaking English on those?
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I have actually also done projects
In
in
Spanish?
other languages. I have done things in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of things in Spanish, even though I am fluent in Spanish.
I was going to say, I thought you were fluent. Yeah.
Fluent in Spanish, yeah.
Okay.
But I've done things in Arabic,
Wow.
which is really tough.
How do you manage that? Yeah. So you have to learn, how do you learn that to be able to properly pronounce it? And yeah.
You have somebody on the other line who speaks Arabic
Yeah.
yelling at you, telling you that's not the way to say it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
They're like, all right, we'll just take that.
You're like, fine.
Right, forget it.
That's
Fine.
funny.
Right.
Yeah, you said Africa. What part?
Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Yeah,
When
I'm
we were in
stationed in
South
Nigeria.
Africa, half of the radio stations we listened to were in English, and we could sing along, and it was really interesting to, finally be in Africa and be listening to, who was it? Was it Belle Biv DeVoe? Yes. I was like, came all the way to South Africa to,
Yeah, I mean, I hear English stuff all around the world. when I go
exactly.
to.
Exactly.
It's interesting on the radio. In other places, they play all the curse words and everything.
Yeah, yeah, we're the only ones as censored as we are. Censored.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech with the most censorship, but alas. Tell me a little bit about your travels. We're both on the go. You've got a little more freedom and flexibility, so I'm gonna say you get around more than I do. But
So I'm on my last page on my first passport. Well, it's not my first passport,
Okay.
but my first widely used passport.
Mhm.
And I'll finish that out before the end of the year. 29 countries at this point.
What's your favorite?
I don't
Favorite
have
place
a
you've been?
favorite, but
No?
there are places that are closer to my favorite. Let's see. Of course, I've spent a lot of time in Costa Rica. I've spent a
I
lot
am
of
trying
time
to talk
in
my
Dominican
friend.
Republic. Don't believe the hype.
I was there and almost died myself, so ain't no hype.
I've spent a lot of time there, and I never almost died. Maybe almost had a heart attack from some of my activities while I was.
Hence, almost
I
died.
told you. I keep it too real. So yeah, I've had a lot of adventures. I love Latin America because I've learned Spanish and I've connected with a lot of people in Latin America and grown to really enjoy the culture. I just came back from Buenos Aires
Ooh.
last month. but so I love Costa Rica. I really enjoyed Dominican Republic, but other places that I've enjoyed, I enjoyed Australia. I have a special place in my heart for Thailand also. Um, so those are some places. I really love the people in Australia and Cuba, especially.
I didn't make it to Cuba before things got shut down again, but I feel like
It's okay.
once
I didn't make it to Cuba once things got opened.
I was gonna say, I feel like if I
don't care.
put some real energy into it, I could figure out a way in.
Yeah, it's not really that difficult.
That's what I keep hearing. I was like, I know enough people who have been.
I have no qualms with telling people that, look, I went there before Obama did, right? Now it's just,
Guy does everything.
I didn't spend any of my money.
Oh,
That's the thing, right? So I didn't have to make any of the arrangements or anything like that or
Gotcha.
pay out.
Yeah.
That's what the real embargo is. You
Yeah.
can't spend your money.
there
It wasn't my cash,
it is.
right? So I did nothing wrong.
Very cool. Something you mentioned earlier that when you were talking about your 15-year journey, and I kind of want to go back to that real quick.
Okay. Voiceover.
Yeah, back to voiceover. Real quick before we go. You said in your first 6 years, you were doing it. Then you got to be full time after, I guess, the first 2, but you didn't really excel until the last couple, the more recent years.
I didn't know
right?
the marketing. I didn't understand. I didn't understand how this whole thing works. Like, okay, so I have the talent, I have the demos, I spent this money, I have the equipment. Now what?
Right. So that's what I was going to ask you. What have you done, or what changed? What did you start doing? How have you been able to develop your brand in a way that you're not only managing and self-sufficient, but you're flourishing at this point?
So in 2010, I met a guy who was a corporate guy, and he is heavy into marketing. And he gave me a plan. And what he said was, you need to have a 1-year plan that breaks down into 4 quarters.
Yeah.
From the 4 quarters, each quarter has to have a different objective. Like, what do you want out of those 4 quarters that's going to help you win
Right.
for the whole year?
Okay.
Then you have to break those 4 quarters down into each month. What is going to help you win each? What's going to help you? What do you need to accomplish
Each
month to help
to
you
get that
win
quarterly
for that
win.
quarter?
Okay.
And then it breaks down to weeks.
That's
So
focus.
when he gave me that, I went out and I bought a calendar. And I marked off on the calendar my objective for the year. And then how do I break that down into quarters, months, and weeks?
Wow.
And then from every week, I just knew what I had to do every day.
Wow.
So I wrote everything down. I kept track of that. Now I have a CRM. I do that.
Perfect. Yeah. It's like the way you just explained it is kind of what they call it, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Like, so simple, but it clearly changed the trajectory of everything you were doing, right?
Yeah.
Once you implemented it.
And when you work for yourself, it's tough. You have to remember that you have to put in as much energy working for yourself as you do for somebody else.
Yep.
And so, in fact, more.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Awesome.
'Cause
I'm glad we went back to that.
You only eat what you kill.
What you kill. Right. Right. There's no floating until you can refocus next week or next month or next quarter. You got to be on it every day to get to where you're trying to be by the end of the quarter. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So tell everyone how to find you one more time.
One more again.
One more again. Run it one more time.
Log on to www.danereidmedia.com. That's DANEREID. I'm putting the pauses in there so you can write this down. I'm going to start over because there's somebody who didn't have their pencil.
Or get your phone out. Hold on.
Right.
Get your phone screen on. You ready?
In fact, if you're listening to this and it's podcast, you can actually slow it down.
You can.
Slow it down. Right? It's Dane That's my name. That's my first name. Dane. Reid. That's my last name. Don't stalk me. REID. MEDIA.com. Yeah, baby.
Is that your tagline? Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby's my tagline.
That's hilarious. DaneReidMedia.com.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Are you on the internets? Are you on the social webs and the Facebooks
I mean, you can look
and the
me
Twitters?
up. You can look up Dane Reid
In-
voiceover or Dane Reid. Yeah, just look up Dane Reid voiceover. I'm
There you
all
go.
over.
Everything will come up.
Yeah, and check me out on my Dane Reid Media YouTube page.
That, yeah.
I actually, what's really good, you can log on to my website even if you're not going to buy anything from me. You don't have to, order my services. But if you're interested in voiceover,
Right.
or you just want to learn more about voiceover, I've been blogging for years in voiceover,
There you
video blogging. So youtube.com/Dane Reid Media or DaneReidMedia.com/blog.
There you go.
And I have probably, 70 good blogs about voiceover for anybody who just wants to learn.
And understand it more, yeah.
If you want to pay for lessons,
Ooh. Took it up a notch.
then contact me on the website.
Okay.
If you're not willing to pay,
Don't
then
call.
just keep browsing.
Go back to the blog.
Go back to the blog, right?
That's real.
Because I answer most of the questions in the blog, and then my time comes at like $200 an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to scare you off or anything.
But just so you know,
Just
come
so you-
prepared.
right.
Save your, set your budget.
Yeah, that's if you're just going to waste my time. If you're just
Huh?
wasting my time, it's $200 an hour.
Oh, I see.
If
what you
you're
mean.
serious, then we can work something out. But
That's
I
legit.
really,
That's fair.
I really only like dealing with people who are serious. Like, don't browse and be like, I don't have any money. I just want to get some free advice. Because quite honestly, while I'm giving free advice, I could be working.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I love helping people, but I help people who are serious.
Yeah, help people help themselves.
At a
And you've
fee.
put out
At a
enough
cost.
free content
Yeah.
that they can browse and kind of get their basic questions
Yeah.
answered. It sounds
Getting
like.
me on the phone is going to cost.
There you go.
I should do a 900 number.
Do those still exist?
Somebody uses them.
I don't know if you want a 900 number. The ones who are still using them,
For like late night,
Exactly.
right? Like call up Dane Reid late night.
it sounds like call up Dane
Hey,
Reid for fun with a 900
You've
number.
reached Dane Reid's 900 number, and it's late at night, and you're about to go to bed. Good night, baby. Women only, please.
I was like, who are you trying to
Ladies-
solicit
ladies
here? It was, yeah, baby.
if you guys think that's a great idea, if you're a lady and you think that's a great idea, then you can message me on my website, and then
I
I'll
wish
start
y'all
it.
could see how big my eyes are
I'll
right
start
now.
it.
I can't deal with him anymore. I think this is where we see ourselves out.
Listen, it's all in good fun.
It absolutely
all in
is.
good fun.
Thank you, Dane, so much for joining us
Thank
on.
you for inviting me.
No, this was great. I learned a lot. I know anybody listening who, if they're not already in your industry, they learned because nobody has as in-depth an idea about this lane as what we just went through.
And
Like,
if you're going to hire a voiceover talent, I think, overwhelmingly, I think what I wanted to say, like, if you're hiring a voiceover talent, hire a voiceover talent who has personality, because personality is part of what we project for your project.
right, and it has to match your
It's got to
company's personality, right?
And it's got to
It's got to be compatible.
right.
Yeah, because
It's
that'll
got to
come
be
through.
appropriate. It's got to be compatible. It's got to be all of that stuff. So,
Perfect.
yeah, hopefully I'm that guy for you. But if not, find somebody who can do it, and respect their budget.
Absolutely. I'm a fan of that. Come with a budget.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking, so people can understand what they are
Yeah,
up
Respect
against,
people's-
right?
Respect people's budget.
Respect people's budgets. Come with a budget. Don't. Everything is not free. We're in a space and time where there's enough free content out there. If you really want someone's time, pay them for it.
Right.
Honor that. Respect their professionalism in that. This is your living. I absolutely agree.
Absolutely.
All right, Dane.
And
Yep.
tune in to episode 4 of Brand Therapy next week.
Thank
Is it
you.
next week?
Wait, let me not laugh so I can like keep that. Say it again. Say it again.
I'm Dane Reid. Tune in next week for Brand Therapy episode number 4.
Yeah, that was golden.
That was free too.
And you see how I did that? Y'all don't do that though.
No.
I did that on the low.
Yeah.
But I won't do it again.
I've known you like almost 10
I know. See, you gotta have some skin in the game first.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Dane. You guys, well, he's already given us our outro. I'm done. Bye.
Laters.